Whakalawhalai atu and a very good evening. These are our top stories for you for tonight. The Niue Assembly met yesterday where the long-awaited Numismatic and Philatelic Amendment Bill 2021 was tabled under the Certificate of Urgency.
The bill was passed unanimously by the House in its first, second and third readings. The passing of the Numismatic and Philatelic Amendment Bill 2021 allows for the tabling of the state-owned entities, SOEs, budget in the Niue Assembly and the inclusion of the Honourable Premier as one of the directors on the board of state-owned entities. Several key motions were presented to the House for consideration. A motion put forward by Common Role Member Honourable Terry Koh for government to make provision in the next budget for an increase in child allowance to assist parents with the high cost of living was passed 11 votes to 3. Those in favour of the motion argued that the cost of living has increased considerably and that low-income families cannot afford and sustain the high cost of school uniforms. Families with 2 or more children cannot afford with the current $80 per child allowance received every quarter. Members opposing the motion agreed in principle with the motion, but argued that increasing the child allowance at this time will only put pressure on Niue's current financial situation and add to its deficit. A motion by member from Mutalau, Mr. Makesiau Ioane, calling on government to grant special dispensation allowing motorcycle drivers to drive their motorcycles without wearing an approved safety helmet when joining a Takai group during prayer week was defeated. Those in favor of the motion argue that it was only for a week motorcyclists moving at a slow speed and that using a helmet was not practical during a hot season. Members opposing the motion argued it was the Assembly's job to make the laws for the health and safety of its citizens and not break the law. A motion by a member from Tamakautonga, Riki Muyaki Makani, moved the Assembly appoint a special committee to look at all aspects of the operations of Telecom Niue and Broadcasting Corporation of Niue, BCN, and to report to the Assembly, and further that such committee consists of no more than 5 to 6 members, was passed by 7 votes to 5. This unprecedented action taken by the lawmakers is the first in the history of Niue for the Assembly to assign a select committee to review and investigate the operations of 2 government entities. The chairperson of the board of directors of BCN says the BCN board welcomes the setting up of a committee by the Niue Assembly to look at the operations of BCN. BCN will fully cooperate and work together with the Elect Assembly Committee during the review on TV and radio services it delivers to the community. According to the Falefono, a terms of reference TOR will be developed and members selected before the review commences. No time frame has been given for the review. Another motion put forward by Common Role Member Honourable Terry Koh was calling on the Minister of Broadcasting to hold urgent consultations with the Board of Broadcasting Corporations of Niue to address the current unacceptable standards of programming, the inappropriate program time slots, the lack of a qualified programmer, and the repetitive programs, was defeated. Minister of Broadcasting Honourable Premier Dalton Taingilangi informed the Assembly that BCN has always been supported by the government and that BCN is trying to find ways of being self-sufficient. In addition, the fire has affected its service delivery and looking for over $1 million to renovate its studios. The motion would have been good if it was to find ways to support rather than providing new programs which cannot happen at this time.
In a cabinet meeting held last week Thursday, the government of Niue approved a review of the Immigration Act 2011. The review will include regulations and interim policies to guide the lawful entry, reside and departure of immigrants to and from Niue.
In a press release, the Minister for Immigration, Honourable Crossley Tatui, said that due to the ongoing disruptions from the COVID-19, there is a need to have a check and balance system to accommodate better the interest of key parties, including the Immigration Office, sponsors, immigrants, Village Council, the judiciary, and the executive government. The Minister adds, immigrants play a crucial professional and technical role in Niue's development and growth over the many years through helping achieve the island's national plans and goals. The Chief of Immigration, Kimray Vaha, said that there had been an increase in number of complaints lodged within the Immigration Office from official sponsors, employers, immigrants concerned and the general public. The review will focus on the organizational and operational gaps being identified and solutions to address these.
Construction of the new powerhouse is well on its way, with the new Whaliwhono building at the completion phase.
The construction of the new powerhouse is progressing well at Willa after several objections to its location at Telecoms. The contractor has completed erecting the aluminium structure and is now putting up the wooden partitions. Felicia Talangi, Director of the Project Management Coordination Unit, BMCU, says she is happy with the progress to date with expected completion date, first quarter of 2022. Felicia is also happy with the progress of the construction of the new assembly building nearing its completion phase given delays due to COVID-19. The contractor is currently focusing on the building's interior with expected completion date by the third quarter this year.
Families of fallen heroes and dignitaries gathered at the National Cenotaph to commemorate Anzac in remembrance of the sacrifice of 150 young Niuean men that left Niue shores to answer the call by allies.
Despite Anzac falling on a Sunday, members of the Niue Returned Servicemen Association, government dignitaries, together with the High Commissioners of New Zealand and Australia, families and friends, braved the early hours to remember the brave men who gave their lives for world peace. The Minister of Social Services, Honourable Sauni Tongatule, thanked and acknowledged those that continue to celebrate and commemorate Anzac each year. The Minister thanked the President of the RSA and his team for the hard work in arranging Anzac Day throughout the years, and also alluding to government's intentions of taking back the arrangements of the Anzac Day. Honourable Sauni Tongatule thanked the Government of New Zealand for opening a plug in Wellington commemorating Niue's 150 brave heroes. The President of the Niue RSA, Charlie Tohovaka, thanked the Niue government for the continued support and will continue to work with government in whatever way to improve the commemoration of Anzac going forward. Niue shares a special bond with New Zealand and Australia through colonial and constitutional ties, and this was highlighted by the representatives of New Zealand and Australia High Commissioner.
I read the history of the 150 men who travelled to New Zealand to train and then on to Europe and North Africa to war. That was an extraordinary act of courage which will never be forgotten. It's the same for New Zealand and Australia. Our men and women who volunteered and paid the ultimate sacrifice to defend the values that we hold dear today, just freedom, choice and opportunity. Last month in Wellington, New Zealand formally recognised the service of Niue and the Pacific Islands in keeping this region and the international community safe and secure, with the dedication of the Pacific Islands Memorial at Pukeahu War Memorial Park.
For the young men of Niue, they heard the call in their villages, they responded, and they signed up to travel to places unknown to them and 1 million miles from their island home. For you, the people of Niue, you're gathered here today to remember and honour the great sacrifice of your ancestors, of your grandfathers, your great-grandfathers, your great-uncles, your great-great-uncles. And so too, it is for myself and for my colleague Helen. We're here representing our countries today, and I'm honoured indeed to be representing Australia here today. We're honouring the young men who joined the Anzac Forces in 1915, and we're honouring all the servicemen and servicewomen who have served our countries in war since that time.
Cabinet approved Monday as a public holiday in lieu of Anzac falling on Sunday.
That ends our news for this evening. Have a great evening. Until next time, nonofoa moi monuina.